Hello, my name is Becky Draper, and I am a Vedic astrologer and Ayurveda health coach. And I help people align with the rhythms and cycles in nature. And today we are going to talk about aligning with the new moon happening on May 16th in the constellation of Taurus. So if you were like, no, wait, the new moon's actually happening in the constellation of Gemini, that is a really good point because we are doing Vedic astrology, which goes off of the true placements of the planets. And the moon is actually in the constellation of Taurus, according to NASA at this time. So just be aware that I am talking about Vedic astrology. And so the way that we align with a new moon, first and foremost, like no matter where the moon is at, what constellation the moon is in, the new moon is a time of contemplation where we want to spend some time alone and really kind of journaling about the state that we want to grow over the next cycle. And a lot of the times when we think about manifesting, we're thinking about goals like, oh, well, I want to manifest like a new job or a new car or something like that. And when we're working with the moon, we're actually thinking more in terms of like the psychological state or like the mood or the feeling that you're trying to conjure up. And so we're not really manifesting our goals. Although when we work with this type of when we work with the emotions with the moon and our emotions, this is actually how we begin to manifest things into our life, because when we're able to create this higher state that we desire, then we'll just naturally attract the things that we want to us. And so this is actually part of achieving our goals, but we're not focusing on the actual physical goal. We're focusing on the emotional and psychological side, because that's what the moon is. It's our mind and it's our emotions. And so when we're manifesting with the moon, then we are actually working with more of the like psychological state that we're trying to bring in. So for example, if you are feeling very like closed off and hard, then during the new moon, we would think about what we want to bring in. Well, I want to be more soft and I want to be more open. And so these would be the state that we're trying to draw in over the next cycle. And so that's how we work with the moon. We're not trying to manifest like a new project every single moon. What we're really focusing on is how we can bring more and more of the desired state and feelings and emotions into our life with the moon. And so I'm going to teach a class on this in June. So I will be posting a link to this video on how you can get into my school community, and I will be doing it from there. And so join the school community, and you can do this for free. If you're already in the school community, then great, because we're going to be doing this in June. It's going to be really fun, and we're going to work through all of the cycles of the moon, starting with the dark moon. And then I will take you through all 4 cycles and then how we come back to the dark moon. So continuing now with the moon and the energy of Taurus. So Taurus is actually where the moon is exalted. And so this is where the moon feels the most stable. And the whole goal of the moon is for us to find peace. Like we want, basically that's the emotional state that we ultimately desire. And we may use other words to describe that, like soft and open and these things that really ring true to us. But the ultimate goal of the heart and the moon is peace. And when the moon is in Taurus, Taurus represents our values and where we build stability in our life. And oftentimes we're building stability around our values. And so when the moon is here, the moon feels very stable and secure. And this is where the moon can be at peace because of the stability it feels around it. And then as the moon moves around the zodiac and gets to Scorpio, this is actually where the moon is debilitated and where the moon is feeling like, oh no, I don't feel stable. I realize that this whole material world is an illusion and it can all disappear in an instant and be gone. And this is where I can lose everything. And so then the moon feels very disturbed because it knows that real stability doesn't exist in the material world. And so this is disturbing for the moon. And right now we're working through this cycle because the new moon is in Taurus. And so it's reminding us. And again, the new moon is like, we don't really feel that great during the new moon because we don't have the moon and the sun energy. So this is actually when we feel a little bit more disturbed, which is why it's a really good time to start to think about what state we want to bring in. Like our desired state comes from the state that we don't want. And we have to fill what we don't want in order to do the contrast and draw in what we do want. And so that's the whole point of like not having the moon energy. So we can face a little bit of the disturbances and bring them to the surface. And then we can see what we need more of in our life. And it can be like a medicine, a psychological medicine with the moon. And so we're kind of feeling a little low, but then the moon's in Taurus where it's stable and it's saying, it's okay, like there is hope, and you can, even during the hard times, you can find stability and strength and peace. And that's really the message of this new moon. And then when the moon gets into Scorpio, where it's full and we're feeling like all the energy from the moon, then the moon reminds us, but everything can be taken away in an instant. And we're reminded that true stability does not come from anything in the material world, and that in order for us to have true stability, we have to be grounded in our own heart. And that comes from having that inner experience and the inner knowledge of ourselves. And so that's really this moon cycle. And then to go even deeper, which is why I love Vedic astrology so very much, is because of the story of the nakshatras. And this is the 27 nakshatras that scan through the constellation. And there's about 2.5 nakshatras in every constellation. And they go into such a deeper, richer story of our experience and life here on planet Earth. And when we're in the nakshatra of Kritika, this is actually where we're burning away and purifying. This is the part of the sky where we realize that any of our attachments in the material world are an illusion, and that we need to allow ourselves to burn away the things that are holding us back. And a lot of the time it's our attachments, and it's thinking that if we have all of these like material comforts, that that's going to bring us the peace that we're looking for. And in reality, the peace that we are looking for is not outside of ourselves. That peace can only be found within. And Kritika is a place where we stabilize. And so we stabilize not from material comforts and our attachments to this physical world, but we stabilize by burning those things away and settling into the heart. And so during this new moon, this is a great time to think about what desired state you want to bring into your life over the next month. And a good way to start is thinking about what's disturbing you. Where are you feeling? What state are you in right now that you don't want? And then a lot of times you can just apply the opposite. But I also have deeper questions that we'll go into when we do the moon circle together. And I'll teach you how to do this a little bit deeper. But for now, this is a great starting point. And then you can write down the words that you are trying to grow over the next month, maybe on a note card, or maybe even write it down a few times. And sometimes I'll even plant one of my note cards into the soil, and every time I water that plant, I'm remembering the mantra, or like what I'm calling into my life. And so it's also another way of reminding that we're growing, we're always growing, and we're always nurturing these aspects of ourselves. It's never like an end. There's no end result. We never get to the end of this journey and this work. But call in that state that you desire. This is a really good time to tap into that while the moon is stable, and while the moon is showing us that we can find peace in the heart, and we can be able to like let go of the attachments and be stable within ourselves. and find that stability not from the outside world but from our own inner world. And so I'm going to leave that here. If you want to get a Vedic astrology reading and find out more about where Saturn is at in your chart right now and how Saturn is influencing you as he transits Pisces, this is a really good way to understand where some of your challenges are coming from. And so I always recommend you know where Saturn is at in your chart and how that's affecting you, because this is going to be where you're going to see the most challenges and where you're going to see the most growth. And I will see you in the next video.